100,000 people move to a city in Asia every day. That is 37 million urban migrants a year. And to cope with this, Asia needs about 20,000 new homes every day. Yeah? By 2050, the figure of urban populations will have gone from 40 plus to 64%. 64%. What are we seeing today is going to be the face of the future. Well, in Thailand last year, they had very, very severe floods. You read about that, right? There was a massive flooding that began in North Thailand and swept down to Bangkok. As a result of this flood, 600 people died, 5,000 jobs lost, 20,000 firms employing almost 800,000 people were affected, their production was affected, and 70% of the flooded areas saw an increase in inflation in food prices. By the way, today hard disk drives are still more expensive because of the flood in Thailand. Because Thailand is a big producer of external drives, and because of the breakdown in the industrial output, today the prices of hard disk drives has not come back down yet. Yeah. So we are all connected. Yeah, we are all connected. We are connected and we are equally vulnerable. Yeah. In Asia, we have 15 of the 20 most vulnerable cities to climate change, to sea level rise. If you look at the top 20 cities in the world that are going to be affected by sea level rise, 15 of them are in Asia. So we have a very bad problem on our hands, yeah. And by 2070, about 95 million people in Asia will be affected by this. So back to the question, what is sustainable? Well, this is not sustainable. Yeah. Whatever we are doing is not sustainable. There's a big problem going on here. Let's go back to the first question. Are green buildings the same as sustainable development? Yeah. Do they work as hard as what the international predictions are telling us we need to do? There was a study done by the UN, the International Panel for Climate Change, IPCC. Yeah, you might have heard of that. And they said that to stabilize climate change, global warming, we need to reduce carbon emissions by 50 to 80%. 80% is for countries like Singapore, 50% is for developing countries like Indonesia. Yeah. So the developed countries have a bigger burden, they are bigger polluters. So 50 to 80% reduction in carbon emissions is required if we are going to stabilize climate change by 2050. The expectation in in the green rating tools in Asia, is that to be counted as green, not only green, green platinum, meaning the highest tier of green, the best green building you can build, you are expected to reduce not carbon emissions. Nobody is talking about carbon in Asia. Yeah. No building is expected to do a carbon calculation. The expectation is that you will reduce your energy consumption by 30 to 45%. Oh. You don't have to be a scientist to know that there is no fit. We are not on the same page. Yeah. We're not even talking about the same metric. We're not even talking about carbon yet. What do you think is the expectation? This is the high tier, like in green mark platinum. What do you think is the expectation of the low to mid tiers? The certified, the silver, the gold. What do you think is required of these buildings? Anybody want to guess? 10%? 20%? What do you think? What do you think? 10%. What do you think the lower tier of rating tools expect the green building to do? If the high tier is 30 to 45, what is the low tier? Sorry? 10. 15. 5%. Nil. So you can, in theory, you can design a building that is the same as a normal building, and you can still get certified. We're in trouble. Okay, So we are finding out that in Asia, green equals certification, but in Asia, green does not equal sustainable. Yeah, it's not the same. So, are there other viewpoints? Are there other ways of thinking, discussing what is the meaning of sustainable design in Asia? Sorry to do a sales pitch, but this is what we try to do with Future Art. Because my job as an editor is not to sell the magazine, but to make the magazine the best possible voice I can in Asia. And what we've been trying to do with Future Art is to collect projects that present an alternative viewpoint. Of course, you send me a project that is Green Mark Platinum, I will not say no. Yeah? But I'm also interested in projects that are not certified. I want to know what other ways are there of doing a green building in Asia. Yeah? Here are some examples of projects that are not, they are below the radar of green, but they are very interesting. Public housing in Hong Kong, Sao Peng South Estate. I'll tell you more about this in a minute. The Green School in Bali, no certification. In fact, now I'm told, US Green Building Council wants to give them some award. They don't know how to certify them, but they want to give them an award. I went there last year, and they said, we have no LEED certification, but we are going to get a LEED award. Because I think even the people who write LEED are beginning to realize that LEED doesn't describe everything. There are other ways to describe things. The Old Market Library in Bangkok, wonderful, beautiful project. This is actually a conservation of an old house, completely dilapidated in a neighborhood where people are very poor, yeah, and it is done up to become a community library, all using recycled materials and so on. Soiree Community Center in Vietnam, on the outskirts of Hanoi, also done with local knowledge, local labor, local skills, yeah? Is it certified? No. They don't know how to certify this. Is it green? I think so. I think there's something going on here, which is not the way industry talks about green, but the way, okay, maybe I can say it in this group, but the way architects talk about green. Yeah? There's a different shift in paradigm. So, the book, I have to tell you, was my frustration because I was fed up. I didn't understand the way in which industry was going, and I felt that we were promising ourselves a lot of false things. Yeah. We had a lot of false comfort. We were telling ourselves, well done, you got 1,180 certified buildings, very good. But actually there's a problem underneath that. And this book was my way of discussing the problem. Yeah. What I did was I looked at different projects in Asia, about 30 different projects in Asia. Some of them are certified, I will tell you now, but some are not certified. Actually, the majority are not certified. And I looked at what these projects are doing, and I found 6 things that are going on, 6 principles that are related to what these projects are doing. Efficacy, ecology, wellness, embeddedness, advocacy, and integration. Today is not the time for me to explain each of them in detail, but these are the 6 principles I found. And then I found 12 projects which show how these principles are implemented. Yeah. Meaning to say, I have 12 very detailed case studies in which we look at how these things are brought together by the architects, the engineers, the client, the users, how they contribute to the making of the green building. So the integration is on the right side of the project. Yeah? Anyway, this was my big frustration. After 10 years of being in the industry, I had to write a book. I just got so tired of the nonsense, yeah, out there. I don't have time to discuss with you every one of the 6 attributes, but I want to share with you something different. Yeah. I want to share with you some of the questions that I was asking that led me to write the book. Yeah. And there were 6 questions about green buildings and how they are different from sustainable buildings that were interesting to me as an architect. I want to share with you the 6 questions. The first question, the first assumption about green buildings is that to be green, you have to be efficient. And efficiency in our industry, in the building sector, is always equipment efficiency, technological efficiency. So, green is the prerogative of the engineer, not the architect. You and I don't select chillers. It's not our job to pick the light bulb. We don't design circuits, we don't design IT systems, we don't design lifts. We do other things. Yeah? But because green is efficiency, you don't have a part to play. You give the thing to the engineer, he will design it up. He will get the building to become green. This was a big problem for me. And I asked the people in BCA, I said, how efficient is efficient enough? At what point will you run out of chillers to buy? Yeah? Sooner or later, you will buy the most efficient chiller, then what do? What's the next step? How much efficiency can equipment get you? How far can it get you? Yeah? Now I want to show you, before I answer that question, I want to show you some buildings in Singapore and Southeast Asia that have become energy efficient. You know, have you heard of the ASEAN Energy Efficiency Award? Okay, there's the ASEAN Secretariat for Energy. They have an annual Energy Efficiency Award, and they will pick the most energy efficient buildings in Southeast ASEAN region. Every year they will give an award to the top 3 energy efficient buildings. You should go and Google this and look for it. It's online. All the buildings are described. So what I'm saying today is, I didn't make it up. It's all available online. Yeah? Back when the award started in 2000, we found out that a typical office building in Southeast Asia consumes 240 to 300 kilowatt hours per meter square per year. You better get used to numbers. If you're going to be a green architect, you better understand what the numbers mean. Yeah? This is an important question. 240 kilowatt hours per meter square per year. This is what an average building in Singapore was consuming. Some in Southeast Asia consume higher, up to 300. And this is a combined load of their aircon, their equipment, their computers, the skin of the building, yeah, the solar heat gain, all of these things add together to give you this number of electrical consumption. These are some of the winners of the ASEAN competition. In 2002, the Ministry of Education in Singapore won the runner-up, and they had 167. So by all definitions of green, they were greener than the average building, right? Because they're less than 240 lah. Revenue House, which was the first winner in 2000, had energy consumption of 147. The low energy office building in Malaysia, 100. You know, before this building came along, we thought 100 is like the sound barrier, cannot be broken. If you're going to air condition a building, it's impossible to be less than 100. And they proved us wrong. Yeah. 100, slightly below 100 kilowatt hours per meter square per year. How did they do it? What was the strategy that they used?